Welcome, welcome, welcome to the Late IHP show with Maria, your lovely 5D mystic in the Enlightenment Soul Age group, functional adult, woo-woo, pseudoscience. I bring human, spiritual, and spirituality elements together, and a 5D mystic is good with the woo-woo title because we do know sciences talk about our clairs. The neuroscience community, metaphysics, physics, so it's not a competition. 5D mystics have the whole inner child, or they have a good therapist that they're reparenting their inner child with, and they accompany that with energy work, Reiki, Akashic record readings, past life regression. So that's just a couple of the things, but even mediumship, we can look into so many of the different areas that those of us who are connected to this lovely sphere of Akash can come together and support. But the inner child is of the person who has that human body, and it is not weighed down unless you have a shame defectiveness. So when people have a 3-year-old that is shame defective, they will tend to have a shame cycle. And so the left mode, inner critic, right mode, there's that impaired bilateral integration, or if there are attachment wounds, or if that first year of life we have no secure attachment. So this is why the emotional body is disconnected, and so emotions are quite intense. And so that gut wrench, torn apart, and defectiveness comes from here, and it can be worked with a great, again, therapist who EMDR, child parts work, and semantics. The psychoeducation is fundamentally important. So I, for example, as a 5D mystic, have people who have come to me for different types of guidance. My loved ones are a side note, that's the bigger portion, but those who have come knowing of me as a Reiki practitioner, I have at times had to say, okay, slow down. You told me that this and this and this and this took place, and I know that that is an indication of your window of tolerance having shot up the roof. So we want to talk about the psychoeducation. That's why I'm attachment and trauma informed. I support people to be their self, inner growth mindset. And as a mystic, I take it very seriously to work with people, and I have a great network of good licensed therapists that I vet myself personally, and then I go to my people, the ones that I trust. What I've noticed though is that the spiritual bypassers, that would be 3D, 4D mystics, and people who think they are a lighthouse and that other human beings are energy vampires, dark auras, the ones who get into using words, those identifiers. So when I say I don't use words, obviously I'm using words, but what I mean is I don't do identifiers, because that's a teenager's land. In the book of a functional adult, we are descriptive, we expand, and we talk, and we explain, because explanation is very important. That's how I empower you. Then you decide what you want to do with that information. Pseudoscience, because I respect the academic world, it's thanks to researchers in academia and good peer-reviewed, quantitative. Qualitative, I'm doing qualitative just as much as anybody else, although I'm sure my lovely academic community would beg to differ, but I did do a qualitative paper, so I know exactly what I'm talking about. But again, only teenagers are the ones who need to be proving things. FYI though, when somebody talks about data, if you're a person who's a functional adult, you'll know that doesn't mean anything. If you're an adaptive child and you put people on pedestals because yourself is not dictated by you, well, that's where we have our Peter Pans and Lost Boys. And the Peter Pans have Wendy's. Okay, so 5D mystic with Akashic records, with Reiki. We have universal love, Reiki energy. It's for personal development. I have seen Reiki practitioners use the word healing trauma. There's also, again, past life regressions, but that's not the only arena that we know of to support people and that people look for. But what I'm trying to get to is primarily the inner child is your behavior, which is not to be pathologized. It is actually a maladaptive child behavior when it involves blamers, victims, or martyr superiors, which is what the spiritual bypassers and people who stay with humans suck. The human body is negative. The human body has laundry. They're not using words that make sense to me, because your human body is a biology, so it has a brain, which is an embodied brain. You got, the organs, you got the 5 senses, and then the 6th interoception, and then we got, I forget, the 7th is peroception, or so. I have my notes somewhere, but that's the part I forget. Here we go. Proprioception, interoception. So we have 8 senses: visual, auditory, gustatory, olfactory, tactile, vestibular, proprioception, interoception. Okay, so long story short, when you have, whether it's past life downloads, or you're doing an Akashic record reading, or there are downloads that come for your own self. For a 5D mystic, they're not destabilizing because I overflow with humanity. And thank you, Sadhguru. Yes, divinity has to descend, but divinity is an energy sphere, not the monotheistic entities that groups of people, 3D and 4D, use. Okay, so 5D, it's a big energy sphere we're all a part of. We don't forget where we come from and that we're brothers and sisters, that we're of one cloth. We also don't forget that you will have the free will, although you're determined. So remember, the 0-1-year-old doesn't pick to have a not securely attached body, okay? So in order for a human being to move to integration and then have consciousness consistently be there, which means then you're open to change in an embodied brain, that's integration, means your left, the chit-chatter, and the right, they work together. So all hands on deck, default mode network down regulated, and you are rocking and rolling in your higher social engagement system. Here's a 5D state of consciousness. Mystics that are 5D, when we are in selflessness, timelessness, effortlessness, and richness, richness. This is a state of flow described by neuroscientists, know all about it as they talked through it. We don't get destabilized or decentralized because my inner child, the whole 1-year-old heart and 3-year-old, didn't get disrupted. I have no shame button. Okay, so when clairs become part of your day-to-day, I've been with clairs since 2007. And the day that that began, it was beautiful. And I already knew about 5D because I came across it as I got my first set of clairs going on. Okay, so let me put that aside and go back to serious topic. Inner child is you choosing to do emotional lifting. It's you choosing to use EMDR, child parts work, somatics with a good therapist who sees you as whole and chooses to share with you about psychoeducation, or at the very least, you have a window of welcome. You want to welcome your emotional stuff. So you know that you don't do clinical dissociation. You have enough smarts. When I talk to some people, they know of their psychotic breakdowns, for example. They're still interested in using energy work. They know of their trauma bonding relationships. They're still looking, and it's not even for a magic wand. These are spiritual bypassers. And the 4D mystic community I have seen support these people. Come to me and don't go to a therapist. This is not about come to anyone. This is actually about the inner well-being of a person and being able to be well-informed. That is a choice. So as a practitioner, a person who supports you on personal development, my education continues because I will never be done. And Reiki or Akashic records or past life are not a magical wand of any type of healing. I can clear, and I do clear your energy sphere and field, and you get a lightened load, as Patrick Tiahan points out in one of his posts, where he says it's not going to heal your inner child away. The inner child work is for you to do the emotional lifting. And here's where I see people, they like trending topics. They want to be entertained, or they want to identify like groupies, teenagers. Okay, so 5D mystics, we care about people, which is why the services that are offered by those who do remember your human body, it will be a conversation. Your inner child is not healable by you having things that come forth. Your inner child is part of your journey. So it's when you welcome yourself back home, being yourself, and the energy and the Akashic record readings and your past life regressions, or just anything that is part of that lovely plane, is bonus. Okay, so it's very important. Love is always in the forefront. Everybody does the best they can, but let's empower each other with good psych education, and then let's remember to bring spirituality, spiritual, and human elements together because they're not competing. They all support the same expansion of consciousness, human evolution. Tune in.